Radio Free Tatooine.
Radio Free Tatooine presents Galactic War Report, a Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes podcast.
Boshuda, fellow Holotable Hustlers. You're tuned in to Galactic War Report, a Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes podcast that's better than some and worse than others. I'm Sean, a.k.a. The Other Sean, and sitting across the Holotable from me is John, a.k.a. The Uncanny Mr. H.
Hello.
And we have a show for you tonight.
Oh, yeah.
It's a multimedia experience, really.
We're cross-platform now.
Yeah. Not only do we have an amazing show on the podcast, we will be simultaneously-ish releasing a companion video on YouTube. We're going to be talking about the Galactic Legends tonight and today, this morning, whenever. Who knows when it'll finally get edited and posted. But we're going to be talking with SB Crumb and CG Miller about these new Galactic Legends, the events that kind of go along with them. CG Miller is the architect of those events, so he has a lot of insight into how those came to be and what to expect. And then, of course, we tease a little bit of the kits. We don't get the full kit reveal, but we do get some of the information about how they're going to work, some of the themes that we'll be seeing, coinciding with our YouTube release of the trailer for the new Galactic Legends. And let me tell you, they look all right. They look real all right.
They look cool.
Yeah.
We discussed it in the interview, but we get the video shows us a preview of some of the, I guess, cutscenes. I don't know how I was going to describe it, but
the ultimate abilities.
The ultimate, yeah. We use the ultimates on the new Galactic Legends for Jedi Master Luke Skywalker and Sith Eternal Emperor. Their ultimates are more like a transformation scene now than an attack, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. And we get a preview into that.
Yeah, a totally different mode for the character. And we'll talk about both of those modes for both characters a bit. But first, let's take a look at upcoming in-game events, courtesy of swgohevents.com. For a list of past, present, and future events in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, there's no better resource on the web than swgohevents.com. On the day this releases, October 1st, it's the month of spoopiness.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're celebrating with Ghosts of Dathomir. I just put together that's probably why Night Sisters are a theme in Grand Arena right now.
Really? You just did that?
Just did that.
This is our 3-year anniversary of the epic Night Sister rework that I am single-handedly responsible for.
Night Sister Tober. There's only one. Night Sister
Rolls
Tober.
Off the tongue.
Ghost of Dathomir today. Tomorrow we'll have Hoth Omega Battle on the 3rd, a training droid smuggling, as well as Admiral's Maneuver, which is my bread and butter, the Radis, which is an awesome ship with no ships to support it. So someday the investment's going to be worth it. I believe it. On the 4th, we have Contraband Cargo. The 5th, we have Grand Arena Season 11, Week 2. I will have lost my first week, so we'll see what happens in the second. On the 5th, we also start Territory War number 141. That means the territory battle will have concluded, and we'll have all that sweet guild event tokens and
all that loot.
It's going to be beautiful. On the 5th, we also have Secrets and Shadows for all you assault battle aficionados like me. And on the 6th, a Jakku Omega Battle. And on the 7th, General's Command.
Which we'll commemorate with a 6-star finalizer for me.
Oh, boy. That's a wonderful day. I think I'm a 6-star finalizer, huh?
Yeah, I'm at 80 of 85 right now.
Okay. I think I'm probably 20 shards behind you, I think. I don't know. Anyways, let's get to the good stuff. Let's talk with CG Miller and CG SB Crumb about these Galactic Legends. We're going to learn a lot about the thought process that went into constructing them, as well as the events. So without any further ado, here they are. We are now joined by C.G. Miller, who is kind of one of the heads of Galactic Legends. He's delivered us his second batch. Thank you so much for coming on the program for the first time.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
And also joining us is C.G. S.B. Crum, who has been on recently. He's I think we're going to make him a full-time host at this point, right?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me again, guys. Glad to be here.
You do a better job than us at explaining the game. So, C.G. Miller, this is your first time on the show. So before we get into talking about these new Galactic Legends, just a quick primer on kind of what it is you do at Capital Games and what your involvement in this Galactic Legend process has been like.
Sure thing. I'm a senior designer at Capital Games. I kind of head up the live operations team, which is the team that creates all the events, all the units, all the new Grand Arena championships, things like that. And we just basically kind of make sure the game is trucking along and running and giving you guys new things to do and new units to collect. And so in that, I wherever I can help out, I help out. I created and implemented Cara Dune. I did a lot of the Grand Arena Championships in the beginning and coming up with all the feats for everything. And then most recently, I have designed and implemented the events for the new Galactic Legends.
Awesome. So, and great job on Cara Dune, too. John and I are both big fans of that kit. Awesome.
Very much so.
Very fun to play with. So with regards to these Galactic Legends, this is kind of, I mean, we're sitting on a game with, I forget the count, I think like 190 something characters at this point. And this is, being tasked with delivering two of the most powerful characters in the game and two of the most iconic characters in the Star Wars universe. How do you tackle that? How do you wrap your brain around that to begin with and try and make it seem fresh and unique?
Well, you kind of hit the nail on the head. Two iconic characters, right? The first two we did were Rey and Kylo Ren. We were, kind of riding the coattails of the final movie, Rise of Skywalker, by including those characters. And then we really thought hard about what the next two would look like. Who are the next two? Who are those two iconic characters that we should have in the game? We realized that we wanted to kind of do an opposing pair. And the opposing pair we came up with was, Luke Skywalker, the Jedi Master version, and then, the Sith Eternal Emperor, Palpatine clone, Palpatine reborn.
Right.
He got better. Yeah, he got better.
Palpatine with like 6 or 7 eyes and a couple apostrophes in it. Yeah.
Someone's read that book.
Yeah.
So, and then it was like, okay, now, how do we make these guys, powerful, right? Especially like Luke doesn't really do a lot combat wise. How are we going to, bring that about? And then the Emperor himself also attached to this big, mechanical arm called an Omen harness for most of the movie. How do we make him an exciting character to play? So that was really, some of the big questions that we had to first answer before we got into actual designing them.
Yeah, and I am learning that term for the first time tonight, the Omen arm.
Omen harness.
Omen harness. Yeah, okay. I used to know all the terminology. Back in my day, I could...
well, that's super subtle. It's, we pulled out from the visual guide, so...
Sure.
So much information that never is officially set, like, is not in the movies or anything, is pulled out of those.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a couple visual guides behind. I'll get caught up eventually. So, we spoke to Crum a couple weeks back, and you mentioned that both of these characters go through some sort of transformation over the course of a battle. So how they end up in the battle is not the same character that you brought into battle. How did that idea kind of come to fruition, and how did it evolve as you worked on it?
Well, it really came to fruition because when we picked these two Galactic Legends, when we were kind of narrowing down the field and we had this pair, we realized that both of them in their respective movies go through a big visual and dynamic shift in their character during the movie. So we were like, okay, how can we best represent that in the game? And that's where we came up with the idea of transformation, right? Where you would enter the battle as one form and then work up your ultimate charge, and then your ultimate would be, I then transform. I then, the Emperor steps off the Omen harness, renewed in power. Luke Skywalker projects himself to the battlefield. So there's a younger version of him out there.
It's like an idealized version of himself.
Right.
He's like, let's just clean up the beard a bit. Let's make sure I look good out there for my final hurrah.
When I first saw the movie, before I knew what was going on, I was like, man, dude, stop to get a haircut.
I know.
Yeah.
Really cleaned up.
Formula in there, yeah.
For sure, yeah. So the transformations that they do go through, they seem, not just thematic, but like the gameplay of them seems almost more akin to the Luke one. Anyways, that's the one I studied up and down because I really want to get that character. But it really feels almost more like a bounty hunter payout than like a ultimate from one of the first batch, because it doesn't just transform him. I mean, the whole team becomes
right. Your whole team
ridiculous.
Gets their ridiculous permanent buff for the rest of the battle. And like all ultimates, it should be, if you got there, you pretty much are going to win at that point, unless it's Galactic Legend versus Galactic Legend. Then there's, if you both ult, then there's some question marks still. But we definitely wanted to have that play out the fantasy of the Jedi Master and, instilling upon his students his wisdom for the rest of the battle.
Yeah. Yeah. And then for Palpatine, one other thing that we noticed is that protection, like max protection, seems to be a thing where like Luke, like before you had Rey being a very defensive team and Kylo being very offensive. And in this one, it's almost the same thing where Luke is a very defensive thing, although arguably once he transforms, he's, a machine gun. But the defensive capabilities of him are almost like counteracted by Palpatine being able to manipulate those numbers. And kind of, I guess as you were designing them, was that a collaborative thing where you kind of wanted these two particularly to have interesting interactions?
We definitely wanted these two to have interesting interactions. We wanted these two to kind of be rivals of one another, even though they never faced each other in the films in these forms. We wanted them to kind of, really play off each other, because there's going to be a whole new set of people who these are their first Galactic Legends, and we wanted to make sure that the battles that they were going to be having with the other people in their divisions were going to be fun and exciting.
Well, I think that's an interesting way to handle it too, because obviously you do think about gameplay and balance implications, where if going into a territory war or grand arena, if you know that there's already a set counter or a set counterbalance, it seems more interesting to know. You can see if they have that, how you're going to set your defenses based on knowing that there is a set thing out there. It's not some quirky team that can do it. It's the intended counterbalance to it.
Right. And we've worked out what the intended counterbalances are between all four Galactic Legends. So you'll be able to figure out that X is better than Y, and when they're facing off against each other for exactly those reasons, those territory war reasons, Grand Arena Championship reasons. It's like, okay, I should probably have more than one Galactic Legend, right? And in doing, because I don't really know what my opponent's going to have, right? And if I need to, I need to figure out which one to put on defense. Is it my stronger one or my weaker one, and kind of bank on my opponent not having the counter? That sort of interplay.
And I think all four of these Galactic Legends sort of sit at a very similar power level, but there's like a kind of like a back and forth between all four of them, right? So it's not. We knew that all four of these characters are going to face off against each other at in high levels of Grand Arena. They're probably going to face off a lot. So those battles should be interesting. About then making those choices should be something that you're having to really decide it on, and like early on in the battle, like, is this the right move here, or do I hold them back, as Miller was saying here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I still think, especially with you can't have more than one Galactic Legend on a team, right? It avoids that impenetrable Titan wall.
Yeah, you have stack them all up.
4 Titan Galactic Legends on one team.
Just kidding. Ray makes them all invincible.
So right. it really is a tactical decision as to who goes where. And I think it does have such interesting implications at a guild level, almost, when you're doing that kind of stuff for territory war.
Mm-hmm. And also the characters that go with them, right? Like, it's not, they're obviously the centerpiece of a team, but what you bring in to fill out that squad is also an interesting choice too. Sometimes you're like, well, I don't want to break up these other 2 squads to make one powerful squad. I really want to have all 3 squads need to be at general good power levels. So how do I make that decision either?
Yeah.
Like,
and that is something we're always conscious of. We're always conscious of, do we want to, is this character the best under this character? And does it pull away from another squad that players have invested a lot into, right? So we may actually make it so that a character isn't as good under a Galactic Legend as they should be, just so players don't feel obligated to break up a squad just to make the best squad. It kind of causes, it's sometimes the reason for our bloat in our text on things, just to kind of get all the balance implications, all the little balancing acts that we're doing into the kit. But the end result is we're trying to make the game fun for you.
Man, I play Games Workshop games. You don't even know about text bloat.
Yeah.
I play Games Workshop games too. So.
Yeah.
That 9th edition Codex, man.
Woof.
Yeah, we're gonna need a Galactic Legend Codex here.
Oh, that'd be amazing. There are a lot of characters required to unlock these guys, to get into the events even. There are what's this tally you have here, Sean? 45?
Yeah, Luke? So if you optimize, so that's a thing with this, is if you optimize your farming as a new player, you would have to get 45 7-star characters to get Luke. Now, obviously, you're going to end up with more than 45, right? I mean, there's your Luminara is going to get there from Bronzium pulls, but a lot of these characters being required for Luke are also themselves not given characters, such as Jedi Knight Luke. And then on the other hand, Sith Eternal Emperor, only requires a total of 19 if you smartly farm. Now, granted, Galactic Legends aren't geared toward new players per se, but it does also feel like I think of I have a friend who's been playing for just shy of a year, and he bought the Hyperdrive bundle, and he's been very serious about the game, and he's done really good things. I mean, he's unlocked a lot of stuff, and he does well in his arenas and all that kind of stuff. And if I were him, I'd be looking at Galactic Legends as, he looks at it as way off in the distance. Someday I'll get one. But I'd be kind of eyeing Palpatine as something that I could actually probably do that. And I'm curious if there was any intentionality to that, or if that was more like, here's the characters that make sense, here's what we end up with, and maybe even if the dark side is quicker and more seductive.
It's a combination of all those factors. Maybe not that last part, but
right. That's just real handy that it works that way.
Yeah, it is. But like it breaks down to, what characters, we look at the data for what characters players have, and we try and make these have some parity. But then there's situations where it's like, guys, we're making this event for Jedi Master Luke Skywalker. It's going to be Return of the Jedi, right? You're going to be playing through Return of the Jedi. They have to bring Jedi Knight Luke. This is why we put him out in earlier in the year, was because we're finishing his story. And so, like any other character, we probably would not have done that with. JKL's got insane prerequisites already.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's the reason for most of those 45. But just so you're aware, like a lot of those characters are really good in Grand Arena teams, territory war teams, territory battles, other areas. So if you're building towards getting Jedi Master Luke Skywalker, you are building actually a very competent collection that any guild would be happy to have.
Yeah, I think it's funny because like the perception of like which one is a better path has been going back and forth. I hear some people saying, Palpatine's the way to go if you're a new player versus Luke versus any of the other ones, and it's interesting like what it'll all sort of lay out to be. But I think as C.G. Miller said here that like we endeavor to make sure all of these are like a somewhat equal farm for each of them. If you've been playing this game and you're an experienced player, you're all about this sort of same general level. Maybe you've got a little more here because you focused on bounty hunters or Empire or whatever, or maybe you focused on not Darth Revan like some folks. But
that's you, John.
What? Yeah. See, what's interesting about it too is like as I'm obviously going for Palpatine because my light side is trash, but I look at the requirements and I'm not getting like a coherent team out of that. If I grind every character out of there, I'm not coming out of this ahead, except for the fact that I'll have Palpatine. Whereas if you have Jedi Master Luke, all of a sudden, if you only grinded those characters, you've got like 4 or 5 good teams out of the deal.
Yeah, like Rolo.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're
looking at Rolo's probably number one fan. So I did not. I was the guy that when the announcements came out, I said, "Well, at least I've got Rolo ready." So yeah, I agree. I mean, I have all of the characters in my favorites that I'm working toward this Galactic Legend. I don't begrudgingly grind any of them. They're all good.
I guess to your question earlier of like, how does a new player see this? Like, obviously these are the very end game kind of characters, right? These are the highest, most powerful characters in our game, and so there should be a journey to get there. And if you're, maybe earlier on in the journey, then yeah, that does seem pretty daunting. But as you folks have been saying, is if you're just gathering characters, you're building towards the other legends, you're getting some other characters in that mix up, you're going to start focusing towards one or the other eventually, and then be able to sort of maybe push that over if you want to focus on it and take your time there.
Yeah, you're going to get R2-D2, just by playing the game, or even just getting the hyperdrive bundle. It's going to take you very quickly to get R2-D2. And then you're going to be like, oh, I should get Commander Luke Skywalker. And then once you have Commander Luke Skywalker, you're like, oh, I should get Chewbacca. And then I should try and get Jedi.
This is the exact
it's all
conversations I've been having with this friend of mine for the last year. So, yeah, it kind of falls into place.
Even I have R2-D2. Surely.
You couldn't beep boop your way out of that requirement. I mean, it's you end up with him. So yeah, could we talk about the events a little bit, like what to expect,
Sure,
some changes and kind of thematic things for them?
Yeah. So when we sat down and designed the events, we kind of looked at the Rey and Kylo events and how they were built. We wanted to mirror those as much as possible, but we also, we listened to player feedback, and the dual system was a hit, not really, but
it was a hit 1/3 of the time.
We want to try new things, right?
Sure.
And the dual system was one of those new things, a different way to play the game, different style. And it didn't land exactly like we wanted to. So there won't be any duels in these Galactic Legend events. And these events are extremely thematic, just like the Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker event where you play through The Empire Strikes Back. For the Jedi Master Luke Skywalker, you're going to play through Return of the Jedi in the first 3 tiers. And then the last 3 tiers will be the battle on Crate against Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. And being able to design and then implement the Sarlacc fight was a dream come true for me. And I was able to do some cool things that I wasn't sure I was even going to be able to pull off when I started, but I went and you bring in 5 characters. You bring in Luke, R2, Han, Lando, and Chewie, right? And then, but in Encounter 1, you only control Luke and R2, and you're on the deck of the sail barge, and you're fighting against Jabba's thugs there. Once you beat that encounter, you move to Encounter 2, which is now out on the skiffs themselves, where now you're controlling Han, Lando, and Chewie. And Lando and Han have their outfits changed to be thematically appropriate. Boba Fett is on the other skiff. Chewbacca's specials are disabled. We actually take them away because those are melee attacks, and you're on a skiff, and so there's no real way for you to run over and hit anyone. So Chewbacca is limited to just his basic ability. But
please tell me Han starts with blind, at least.
So Han has the thematic debuff of carbonite sickness.
Oh, nice.
In which he is effectively blind for the first 13 turns of the combat.
Oh my god.
However, I will point out, because people will say it's a bug, he hits anyway. He's Han Solo.
Right.
Hey, he hits the tongue of the
his
the
basic
Sarlacc.
attack can't miss, so he always hits it. But he does. We even actually renamed Deadeye to Blind Eye for the event. Because that one he will miss with if you try and use it. But yeah, so it's, I was happy that we were able to do that. The encounter, the final encounter is not completed by just defeating everyone. You only have to defeat Boba Fett in order to claim victory in that encounter and move on.
Nice.
That's awesome.
And then of course the third tier is Luke versus Darth Vader and the Emperor in the throne room, the end of Return of the Jedi. So we got to recreate that battle. We got some amazing cutscenes put in that one. And we especially get great double duty out of it because the Emperor's event also includes that same exact tier. The one time that both these characters actually meet and confront one another. We had to make sure that was in both events.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then the Emperor starts off. We get to go all the way back to episode 3.
Just real quick on the Luke event, or in between them, you're seeing that battle from 2 different sides, right? So you're seeing one from Palpatine's side and then one from Luke's side too.
Yes.
Which is kind of fun.
Also, is there the cameo when you're on crate of the It's Salt guy? Because I would love that. If
and they've probably seen a little bit of these, or at least some clips from these events as well in the video that's on your guys' channel right now. At least should be at some point soon.
Yeah.
So the Emperor's his event, the tier 1 of his event is Mace Windu and the other 3 Jedi coming to arrest him. I got to type into the dialogue line of, I am the Senate.
Yes.
Yeah, I was hoping so.
Yes.
So we got that in the game. We get, you get to solo 4 Jedi in that. So that's pretty fun. Mace Windu has a different kind of Shatterpoint in that one. I think it's the 3rd or 4th iteration of that ability for him now.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like a little boss, kind of like a boss mechanic to him, an enrage mechanic based around Shatterpoint. And then of course, tier 3 is the Death Star battle again, and then the final 3 tiers is the Sith Eternal Emperor against Rey and Ben Solo. Ben Solo being Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, however, he's a light side character now. Has most of Supreme Leader Kylo Ren's kit. We've changed his outfit as well. And Rey, I was happy to get another thematic thing like the carbonite system sickness on Han. Rey gets a buff called I Am All the Jedi, in which I cherry-picked out of all the leadership abilities of the Jedis that speak to her in the scene in the movie, and I pulled out stat bonuses from each one. And so she gets like 495 offense, 17 buffs, and it's all listed out, like who's giving what to her. When you look at the buff in the game.
Oh, that's cool.
So you get Ahsoka's leadership, which gives a buff to Night Sisters.
Yeah, and
speeds up those
but
zombies.
It also does, I think, a crit chance as well.
Yeah, we still haven't cracked that code 5 years deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sad that Kanan doesn't actually have a leader ability.
I know.
So
I thought about that when you said that. I was like, oh, man.
Put him into the ability. So
He doesn't really lead that much, though, in the show, so it makes sense.
But I really wanted to represent him somehow in that ability, but I was unable to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the events themselves sound awesome. But getting to the events is basically the same. So it's the same number of tickets we have to get there, right? For each of the tiers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's not going to be any more difficult than it was before.
Mechanics are all the same. To get the unlock the ability material, ultimate ability materials, you do the same to get you need to get the tickets to get those, and you'll earn tickets from doing like you did before on the light and hard nodes.
Now I have a question. The ultimate ability token things to attempt that last time were the same for Kylo and for Rey.
Mm-hmm.
So you could use your ones you earn on the Rey event toward Kylo or whatever if you're grinding them both. Now,
absolutely
on this it's just light side tickets, right? So if you were grinding both of the light side legends or whatever, you're getting those same tickets that you could use on either. Okay, I was just making sure.
Same universal system as we did before. So,
as a matter of fact, going back to the thematic part in the event, it's assumed you're not going to have your ultimate ability when you start doing tiers 4, 5, and 6 because you haven't got any of those materials yet. So I actually I designed it so that you're granted your ultimate ability by the game. Just to make sure that you get to see that ultimate. It makes thematic sense for where we're using it, as those are the two places where those ultimates are actually used in the movies. So we wanted to make sure that you had those ultimates at your disposal. And as a matter of fact, Luke Skywalker, he starts at 100% ultimate charge, and your first move of the game has to be to activate it.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
It'd be mean if we had these really cool ultimate abilities and then never let you see them until you're finally done.
Yeah.
I mean, first things first, you got to Patrick Swayze his way into the battlefield.
Absolutely.
Love to lay him and be like, girl, you in danger.
Man.
The events are great. I am curious about some of the specifics on the kits. Now, we're not going to get into too many specifics because people are going to have the kits before long. But there's a lot of kind of general ideas and systems that you guys put in place on here. And I'm going to go with the Emperor first because he's cooler. So the basic, and there's a couple other ways to do it, and it spreads almost kind of like plague, is this deceived debuff.
Oh, yeah.
So this is like, the Emperor working behind the scenes and working things to his benefit.
It really is. Like both kits, you'll notice that the designers went heavy into theme and then tried to figure out a mechanic around that theme, right?
Sure.
For the Emperor, it was deception. It was deceiving people. Like there's 9 movies. In the third one of each trilogy, out of nowhere, this guy comes and he's the main bad guy, right?
Right.
It's the consistent theme between the 3 trilogies, and because he's mostly behind the scenes all the other times. So we wanted to make sure we got a mechanic deceived that kind of mimicked his little puppet master behind the scenes. Man, it was actually, I pushed very hard to have a marionette icon for it, but it just didn't read well enough for it. So
the idea is like basically he can't be targeted by somebody who's been deceived. Like they don't know it's him.
Yeah.
And he gets a little bit of ultimate charge out of it, which is kind of cool. Like they don't know he's the one pulling the strings.
Right.
Anakin never knew, right? Like until it was too late.
I mean,
right.
a little inside baseball. We removed this from the kit, but the very first versions of the kit, you deceived both sides. You deceived your own guys who got a buff out of it, and you deceived the other side. You got a debuff.
Palpatine always playing the field. Doesn't care who's on it.
Yeah.
The other big
sadly
thing
didn't make it through the early testing though.
I mean, it's still pretty cool. The other big mechanic, I mean, outside of the transformation, but is that he has this ability to link the enemies. So he intertwines the fates of his enemies, like he does with Ben and Rey. I imagine that's where that idea came from, right? Because he's the one who put them together to a degree.
Yep.
So he's got the ability to link two people, and until one of them dies, it just sits around.
Right. Yeah. And it's going to be doing his unique. Also, then makes it do some protection damage at the start of his turns. So a
lot if they're Jedi.
And a lot if they're Jedi.
And they can't critically hit, and they deal less damage, and all sorts of stuff. Right? Like it's not good.
And then when you transform, it's basically becomes an I win button against those two. As his special one just instantly defeats linked characters.
Yes, which as Sean noticed as we were looking at this, the name is Power, Unlimited Power.
Yes, there are some ability names that I simply love, and that's one of them.
We pulled his ability names across his entire story arc in as opposed to just working on Rise of Skywalker stuff. So.
His first Jedi being called "So Be It, Jedi." It's so good.
One of the best lines of the saga.
For him.
Yeah. So he eventually transforms, right, where he is restored to a just kind of a lich as opposed to like a zombie emperor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like he's not looking so bad after the transformation. If you look at it where he starts, right, he's got like missing fingers, and he's like. His face kind of looks like it's about to droop off of him.
Yeah,
like he's not doing well. And then he's got that nice red chest piece on and everything. He's all back in it, man.
And he changed his clothes. So.
He had him on underneath. It's an old theater trick, right? It's a quick change.
Smoke and mirrors, baby.
Yeah, I mean, of all the Sheevs we've seen, he's probably like the third best looking one. So he's doing all right. We've seen a lot of Sheevs over the years.
Yeah.
And once he does transform, like you said, he has basically I kill all the linked enemies.
Yeah.
So it's almost like there's the idea of you want to link these two characters and then leave them alone.
Yeah, you don't really need to worry about it.
You have your plans you put in place and then let it sit until you can manage to
reveal
the plot.
You want to get that deceived going. You want to get that spreading. You want to be gaining ultimate charge. Holding off against your two linked enemies. Now, if you linked Galactic Legends, they're not going to be instantly defeated. So you have that to kind of worry about.
As we found out with Rey and Ben, right?
Yeah.
You found out that doesn't work.
Yeah. There's some thematic events. When you're playing 4, 5, and 6, read. One of the things I added to this is if there's special mechanics, there is now next to the lore button, there's a mechanics button that you can press, and it'll kind of spell out that Ben Solo cannot be defeated until Rey is below half health, right? And Rey can't be defeated until Ben Solo's defeated, right? So you have to, and that buff gets more and more complex as you go up to tier 4, 5, and 6.
Mm-hmm. So interesting. Now on the other side of that, you've got Jedi Master Luke, and he's got a couple different abilities that he can give, and he seems to be even more so. They've kind of leaned. I say they, you have kind of leaned into characters being teachers in the past, where you've got like Hermit Yoda can give his training, and it's a permanent buff. Luke has lessons and legacy, and I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how those play off of each other.
I just want to make it clear, I did not work on Luke's kit at all.
Oh, I meant the royal you.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
The royal you. So lessons and legacy, they have changed a lot as well. So I fear speaking to them in getting something wrong that was true 3 weeks ago, but is no longer true. But it was definitely, you're right. The Jedi's, the Masters especially, giving out their teachings, their learnings, and things like that is like I said, we start with thematics and then we build mechanics around them. So we definitely wanted Luke to be a teacher and someone who will teach these characters. And what's funny is I know I keep going back to the events.
Mm-hmm.
For the event, you're bringing in the 3 Jedi that appeared to Luke at the end of Return of the Jedi. You bring in Hermit Yoda, you bring in old Ben Kenobi, and you bring in Anakin Skywalker, who we loaned to. Anakin Skywalker is required already.
Is he? I didn't think he was.
Oh no, he's not.
He's required for Palpatine.
He's required for Palpatine.
Yeah.
He's not required for Luke. We loan him to you for Luke. So you'll have him on the battlefield. It actually looks kind of cool seeing those 3 characters next to him. And they're going to start off with, getting Jedi Master Luke's big buff as he uses his ultimate immediately. And so they become really beefy right away.
Yeah. It's almost, fun. I like how it feels like an arrival for those characters. Like, you give some lessons here, this character gets stronger, more lessons, they get even stronger, it stacks. And as you spread those around, your team's getting stronger, and then when you pull the ultimate off, everyone gets the actual, like, the legacy, which is like, forget the lessons, now you have arrived, now you are, just monsters. Jedi scum.
And like I said, pressing the ultimate button should be, considered a victory for you getting to that point. So hopefully you're strong enough to finish off whatever the enemy has left.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. This has been a blast. I hope you'll come back in the future when we do another batch. And I hope we've got a while before that other batch hits. give me time to recoup.
I'm sure there'll be things to talk about before then.
Sure. Well,
I heard there's some new characters coming too, so who knows?
Okay. Oh, thank goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Crumb and Miller. It's been great having you on the show.
It's great being here. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, guys. This was great. Hope you guys are excited for Galactic Legends, and check out the video that you guys got on the channel. It shows off some of those abilities, a little bit of the ultimates, some of the events and stuff too. It's a really cool little teaser.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so once again, make sure to check out our YouTube page. It's been newly rebranded. It was the Radio Free Tatooine YouTube page. Now it is the Galactic War Report YouTube page, because that's all that was there anyways. So we just
unlike our network feed where it was only us, so we just changed it to being us.
Yeah, basically, we're in the process of just streamlining everything, and we've got some good processes in place to do that. But yeah, that video is very cool, so that is definitely worth checking out. But before we head out, it's kind of a tradition here at Galactic War Report. Every week, we celebrate this game and all those who play it by asking each other, who you grinding?
I feel very special by that introduction.
Yeah, it's kind of Yuletide-y, isn't it?
A little early. Yeah. I'm still on the hunt for Super Sheev, as it surprises no one. I moved my Veers and Stark up to Relic 3, so they're donezo. Tarkin's at Gear 12. Piet hasn't been touched in a while until he can be grounded.
Poor guy.
Yeah, I know, right? Thrawn, I moved up from 12 to 13, so I just got to throw, I don't know, a million relics at him.
Yeah.
Dooku is still chilling at Relic 2 because I still need relics, like everyone. Sidious did go from Gear 12 to 13, so he's ready for relics as well. Maul is at Gear 12. Marauder, I finished up grinding and got into Gear 12. And my TIE Bomber, which I needed 6 stars, I have 47 out of 65 now, so I'm feeling feeling pretty good about that. That I've been getting good drops, and they had the doubles, the dark side double drops.
Oh yeah.
I spent a little bit of our Patreon bucks on that.
Oh,
bought some crystals.
Good to know.
Yeah. Check the receipts.
That's such a great ship too. I didn't even think to grind that on the double drop day. I went pretty much all for gear. That would have been a smart one. You
want to go for like stun guns, and there was the double drop days are tough because you suddenly find yourself at like 400 crystal refreshes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
yeah. But at what point does this become insanity?
I mean, quickly. But who are you grinding?
Some of the same stuff. I've been crossing some things off the list. I've got my General Skywalker up to 80 out of 100 now.
Oh, so close. So this next time you should be able to finish him out, right?
So I think this will just about do it.
Yeah.
For gear, I'm working on Jedi Luke. I have gotten him Jedi Knight Luke. I've gotten him up from 9 to 11 in just the past 2 days, without having to really work that hard. I had a lot of those green pluses when I hit a level mark.
Who even knows how that happens, right?
Sometimes I don't even know. Yeah.
You don't even know what you're using. It's there. You hit a button.
I don't plan ahead. I never plan ahead because planning ahead is for fools.
Wait, we should be doing a lot of
that. Other gear is all going toward other Jedi Master Luke requirements. Relics. I've got a couple I could apply, but I'm saving up for R2. I just need to get him one more relic level. He's at 6. He needs to go to 7.
It's a tough one.
And it's not even that little. Is it the Zinbittle card?
Man, I don't know.
It's not the top piece.
Yeah, it's the one next to it.
The one right next to it. It's just it's
tough. You find yourself grinding gear to salvage, and it makes you so mad.
Yeah, exactly. For ships, I've got that Rebel Y-Wing up to 32 out of 65. It's becoming, like we talked about last week, that's becoming very important, that and the TIE Bomber, to get solid tanks in additional fleets. So not only for the Jedi Luke requirements, but for Grand Arena going forward, it would seem that that's going to be very important.
Yeah, I have to consult friend of the show, Burrito, to try and figure out what this Empire fleet he's been pitching is, because I tried to piece one together and it's not great so far.
At least you got a lot of pieces to work with. It's not like First Order where you can't really.
No, you don't have
it together. You
that's really the only problem. It's making it at least an okay fleet.
My most recent Zeta was today. I Zeta'd Rex because it's good, and I'm going to use it eventually.
This is the one very random, sir.
Well, I've got my General Skywalker finally firing on all cylinders. So Rex can now reduce cooldowns for all the 501st.
Okay, sure.
That'll be a PvP use.
Do I have my Rex Zeta? I feel like I do.
I've got both of 5s, all 4 of General Skywalkers. So I did Rex. I'll be doing quite possibly Echo and Arc Trooper for my next 2.
I have all of them, so that's why I thought I did.
Unless there's other Zetas that seem kind of creep up, especially once the event goes live for the Galactic Legends. We'll see. Maybe it turns out you need to have Mon Mothma Zeta'd
to pull it off.
Actually, I don't think I even mentioned I Zeta'd Backpack Chewie this week too.
Oh, nice.
So I guess, I kind of spent all my Zetas now, and whatever. I'm so far away from Jedi Luke, I've got plenty of time to put the Zetas together. I'm not worried about that.
Famous last words, my friend. Famous last words.
Sure. The rest of my Luke grind, I've got Old Ben sitting at gear 12, Mon Mothma at 14 out of 65, Backpack Chewie 40 out of 65, Jedi Luke gear 11, Han Solo's still hanging out at gear 12, Chewie's done, 3PO's done, Jedi Training Ray's done.
Just remember that
nothing else has gotten done. I've just been moving gear levels.
To the Sith Eternal Emperor, the Sith Marauder is more important than Han Solo is to Luke.
Right. That tracks. Yeah.
Never forget.
It's like a diss that like Luke that Han ran away at the end of episode 4, and Luke never forgot that. You know, you're only going to Relic 6, bud.
Whereas Sith Marauder existed 10,000 years ago.
Yeah, but he was loyal. He stuck around.
Yeah, I mean, Sith Eternals, I guess forever. I don't know.
Exactly. Well, that's all we got for you this week. It may not be the best advice, but at least we didn't recommend not smashing that like and subscribe button.
Pew, 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 pew.
2 buttons. We're so YouTube. Galactic War Report is brought to you by Radio Free Tatooine and by our Patreon supporters. Learn how to become one and get access to our Discord server at patreon.com/Radio Free Tatooine. As always, big thanks go out to our Sandcrawler level supporters CT1980, Devin Doctorman, John T. Klasenic Jr., and SWGOH.GG. Don't forget, if you like what you hear, please consider showing your support with a rating and or review through your podcast medium of choice. Thanks for tuning in, and may the Force and RNG be with you.